Once upon a time, there was a man named Adam who lived in a village. He was a talented shoemaker, and everyone loved the shoes he made. He had been making shoes since he was a boy and knew his work well. He lived with his wife Elizabeth, his son Michael, his daughter-in-law Emma, and his two grandsons, Mike and John. Both loved their grandparents dearly. One morning, Elizabeth woke up early and went straight to the kitchen. She washed her hands, filled a pot with water, and put it on the stove. She added tea leaves, milk, and sugar, stirring carefully. A little later, Emma walked in. Meanwhile, Michael and Adam woke up and got ready. Adam called out to Mike and John.
Come on! Mike! John! Time to get up for school!
John rushed to the bathroom, while Mike groaned.
Oh, not again. Why am I never first?
Soon, both boys were dressed. Emma boiled some eggs. Elizabeth made cereal bowls, while Emma toasted bread in a pan. They set breakfast on the floor, and all sat together to eat. Afterward, Mike and John headed to school, while Adam and Michael left for the shop. Adam and Michael arrived at the shop. Adam started on a new pair of shoes, while Michael dealt with customers at the counter.
Morning, Michael,
greeted one customer. He handed to Michael a piece of paper with their order details.
I need brown boots.
Okay,
Michael said, jotting down the details.
we will have them ready for you by Friday.
Michael took the advance payment from the customer and added the cash to the register. After dinner, Adam sat down with Mike and John in the living room.
So, what do you want to be?
Adam asked. Mike thought for a moment.
I want to be a teacher.
John smiled and said,
I want to be a shoemaker. Just like you.
Michael shrugged.
Dad said I should be a priest, but I became a shoemaker.
Adam asked the grandsons.
Will you become a priest?
Both boys shook their heads.
No. No. I don't like that.
That night, Adam lay in bed, staring up at the ceiling, and sighed.
I want to become a priest.
One day, a priest came into the shop for shoes. Michael was at the counter dealing with customers. But Adam stood up and greeted him warmly. The priest ordered a pair of shoes. He described that he needed them for his duties at the village church.
I need a pair of sturdy shoes.
The priest said, looking at the various options.
Something that will hold up well as I move around the church grounds.
Then, when he asked about the price, Adam just shook his head and replied,
No need for payment, Father.
One evening, Adam was passing through a street when he saw a sign outside a shop, Pamist. He went inside, greeting Pamist, who was chatting with a man. Adam held out his hands to Pamist and asked,
Can I become a priest?
Pamist studied his face for a moment and smiled.
Yes. But you will have a tough journey ahead.
Adam paid his fee with a smile and left. The man sitting beside Pamist asked,
Did you see his hands? Will he really become a priest?
Pamist smiled.
I saw more than just his hands. His eyes tell me he surely will become.
One Sunday, Adam decided to visit the Sunday market to buy some books. As he wandered through the stalls, he spotted a few religious books that caught his eye, ones that priests often read. He picked them up, bought them, and headed back home. That night, Adam sat by the lantern light, reading one of the religious books. His wife woke up and saw him reading.
What are you reading?
She asked.
These are some religious books.
Adam replied.
I'm reading them to become a priest.
But it's not that simple. Adam,
She argued.
you need proper guidance for something like that.
Adam just nodded, his eyes fixed on the pages. One night after dinner, when everyone was sitting together, Elizabeth said,
Your father has been reading religious books lately. He is thinking about becoming a priest.
Michael laughed.
But how is that even possible?
Emma just smiled, not saying anything. Mike and John were both wide-eyed with excitement. Mike asked,
Grandpa, will you really become a priest?
Adam smiled and nodded.
Yes, my dear.
John smiled.
Will you perform my marriage rituals when you become a priest? And I will take my vows before you.
Michael and Emma laughed. while Elizabeth just smiled. Adam replied,
Of course. My dear.
After finishing the books, Adam decided to take the next step. One evening, he went to the village church and said,
I am a priest and want to perform my duty here.
A man at the church looked at him and asked. Adam shook his head.
No. But I believe this is my destiny.
The man smiled and said,
Then go to the minister and get a degree first.
After that, Adam went to the minister's house and asked for a degree. The minister smiled and shook his head.
I can't issue a degree because you haven't received proper education for this.
But Adam didn't give up. He continued to visit the minister's house. On the third time, the minister said,
Please come to the royal court tomorrow. The king himself will grant you a degree.
After Adam left, a courtier sitting beside the minister said,
But that's not possible.
The minister shrugged.
I have told him many times. But he didn't understand. Now, the king will handle it himself.
The next day, Adam arrived at the royal court with his wife and son. Bowing respectfully, he said,
I have come to humbly request a degree to become a priest.
The courtiers exchanged amused glances, and one said with a smirk,
Well, I will read a few medical books, and the king can make me the royal doctor.
Other courtiers laughed. The king smiled but raised his hand for silence.
Adam,
He said kindly,
I admire your determination. But I cannot grant you a degree. It requires proper education.
Adam's eyes filled with tears.
Your Majesty, when I was a child, my mother wished for me to become a priest. But my father passed away, and I had to learn shoemaking to support my family. My mother was heartbroken, but I had no choice. Now, my son and grandsons don't wish to become priests. I thought by reading those books, I could fulfill my mother's wish. But I understand now it's not possible.
He bowed his head,
Thank you for listening.
and then turned to go. The courtiers fell silent. Elizabeth and Michael's tears flowed freely. The king said,
Wait.
Adam turned to him slowly.
You may not be a priest yet.
The king continued.
But if this is truly your dream, I will give you a monthly stipend to study with the royal priest. Once you have finished your education, I will grant you the degree.
Adam beamed with joy.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
He said, his voice shaking with emotion. Elizabeth and Michael smiled, wiping away their tears. Moral: if you keep trying and never give up, good things can happen.